Hi folks, Alistair here. This is one of those weeks where I encourage you strongly to check the spoiler tags on the website before proceeding. This story is excellent. It's one of the strongest pieces I think we've run this year, and it is absolutely going to hit some people very, very hard indeed. So like I say, please check the tags. Pseudopod, episode 651, June 7th, 2019. This week's story, The Coven of Dead Girls, by Erin Ogle.
Lead me to a lonely place, dressed for opening time. Show me bleeding where my love burns you breathing fire.
Hi folks, welcome to Pseudopod, the weekly horror podcast. I'm Alistair, your host. Our story this week comes from Erin Ogle and is read by Nika Harper. They're both exceptional talents, and for more details on both of them, please do click through to their pages on pseudopod.org. Also, this story is a Pseudopod original, and, as I said at the top of the episode, is very good and extremely strong coffee. So, Erin and Nika have a story for you, and we promise you, it's true.
Empty all your pockets and now the show is opening soon. The crowd is roaring and their fists are thrown up in
The Coven of Dead Girls by Erin Ogle. Narrated by Nika Harper. The key turns in the lock and you step inside. Until you, we have been adrift in waiting, silence heavy in our bones. Time passes slowly inside these walls, dressed in our plastic coffins. Your sister follows you inside and looks around. "This isn't a good place," she says. She's right, but you'll chalk it up to the way Connie's always existed, partially in the real world and part in another place where everything is gauzy and insubstantial. You don't even hear her. But it would have served you better if you had. Hindsight can be a real bitch sometimes. You carry in boxes, your entire life divided into cardboard squares, labeled in block letters, marked by a black Sharpie, kitchen, living room, winter clothes. There's a box that says, personal. Everyone's got a box of memories that they lug around. We've seen this before. People come and people go. No one stays here very long. You peel the sticky tape away. The duct tape peels up. Of course it's duct tape. We are familiar with that, all of us. And it makes a sick screeching sound that echoes through the spaces between us. We hold our breath and peer over your shoulder. What kind of man are you, anyway? There are photographs and love letters, and even a couple pictures of a naked woman named Jane. Her name is scrawled on the letters, printed on the marriage certificate and the divorce decree. You unpack and put your things among us, and you don't notice the walls moving when we sigh. Over the years, we have cried so many tears that the yellow-flowered wallpaper has become to detach from the drywall. Tears of regret, of rage, of blood. If you were to peel back the faded yellow sheets, our wet copper scent would fill the air. But you don't. You would blame it on faulty wiring anyway. You are not a person of abstracts. You believe in absolutes. Your brother's realtor found this place dirt cheap. He didn't mention the people from before, the people who left with dark circles under their eyes, or the man who lived here when we moved in. The man who went on to his own future, maybe as bleak as ours. He props himself up on a cane and trawls the urine-scented halls of his retirement home. The taste for blood is still blade-sharp inside him, but his hands, his body, are too soft and weak to sate it. When Connie visits, she stares at the walls, but we do not move. Our business is not with her. Our business is with you. If you were to ask why, We would not have an answer. We have been here a long time. We don't have anything else to do. At night, you hear things. Creaking, moaning floorboards, a disturbance in the air. You blame it on the house settling, as if houses ever really settle, as if they could. We are here behind squares of drywall, wrapped in plastic, sealed with caulk. Night makes us restless. Night reminds us of how dark this place can get, how much it can hurt here. All 16 of us wear the maroon scarf we were strangled with. After all this is over, they will uncover us and they will dream about the scarf, a shade too dark to be blood, but violent all the same. What's with the scarves, they'll ask, and we could tell them, but no one listens to dead girls. We didn't matter that much when we were alive. There was a red scarf in his past. Of course there was. His mother wore the scarf around her neck until she got all boozed up. She would rub it across her face, smearing her lipstick. She was lonely and sad, and she didn't pay any attention until the drink allowed blackness to fall over her mind. Then she made him crawl into her bed and drew the scarf over his body, flicking his privates, laughing at his smallness. She should grieve this, but she doesn't. To be fair, she doesn't remember all of it, but there are fragments of her wrongs embedded deep in her soul. She turns and twists, restless in her own grave. She knows there is something to atone for, but she is too frightened to search for it. This is the nature of alcoholic parents. They cannot face the cruelty. They do not want to see the scars. 16 skeletons, 32 femurs. One of 11's legs will be crushed by the collapse of a weight-bearing wall. She knows it will happen, but she doesn't care. I cannot understand that. I am still angry. I am still a whole person, even if I am a skeleton. I turn in my plastic prison, my teeth stripped of gums, grinding at the thought of such an insult, being turned into dust. You put a picture of Jane on the wall. You still love her. Jane is beautiful, and her hair is the color of sunshine. We drink in the warmth of it, gulp it like the poison we swallowed to be here. The poison was different for each of us. Rohypnol, heroin, alcohol, whatever he had, whatever it took. Were there girls that didn't take it? I don't know. Even ghosts cannot travel through all the places, and all the people. Sometimes I start thinking about that. If I'd never taken that drink. Regret has teeth. It can cut you up into pieces and leave you gasping at the unfairness of it all. Maybe you know that, but I find that hard to believe. You know me, I whisper in your ear, like a sea conch. My words turn into waves crashing out into the world. You wake, as your kind tend to do, startled and afraid. We like that. Most of us. I like it. I can taste the fear coming off you, and it satiates my fury. I don't know why I am so angry. Time doesn't heal all wounds. My rage did not dull with the years. I fought so hard, but he was so much stronger. I want to hurt someone so they know exactly what happened to me. I want to be the one doing the hurting, to be so powerful that no one ever hurts me again. He tries to dream of us, that old man with the cane and the scar above his left eyebrow. The one he says happened when a hammer fell off a high shelf in the garage. That was me. That was the heel of my shoe. When he tries to dream of us, we feel it plucking at the air around our wall space. We lie still and quiet, and we picture the scarf. He wakes up screaming. One day he will twist his sheet into a noose. When he drops his weight into it, everything turns red. But not today. We're not ready yet. We have a lot to show him first. You keep waking up at night. You can hear things moving, but no one's there. Sometimes there is the faintest sound of screaming. You start leaving the TV on to drown it out, but we change the channels. Shadows appear in the hollows beneath your eyes. We have been erased, yet we still leave a mark. The old woman in her coffin? We visit her too. She made him, and he made us. I wasn't a bad girl. I didn't deserve what happened to me. I cried my first year here. I asked myself over and over again, what did I do wrong? I took a drink at a party. I asked God too, but he never answered me. There were girls like me who lived here after him. Girls with long hair and straight teeth who laughed, who slammed their doors and talked about boys and tacked pictures on their dressers. Girls who had futures as bright as Jane's smile, beaming from the picture you hung right in front of me, all the time, all the things I could never be. Why? We ask each other so many times. We guessed. We thought about it. We went to him to see for ourselves. 11 and 3 and 5, they must not have hearts as withered and shriveled as mine. They could still feel sorry for him. Knowing what happened to him just gave me another person to hate. It never made me feel sorry for him at all. She lies restless in her coffin, and we knock on the lid. We whisper terrible things to her. We haunt her worse than we haunt you. There will be no peace for her until there is peace for us. Maybe she had her own horror story, but I cannot find it in my soul to care. Your ex-wife, the luminous Jane, visits. You have an ex-wife that cares about you, and I am a skeleton wrapped in a tarp. How is that fair? You are a person, and I was a person, and I died, and no one cared, and you mope your life away, and everyone cares. Jane tells you Connie is worried about you. You look tired, she says. She wears her concern like a scarf, bright against her skin. I can't sleep, you tell her. There's something here with me. Jane asks if you've thought more about seeing someone. About your father. How you love and hate him. I see the marks he left on you. Sure, I get it. He didn't hit you, but he said things to you. He made you feel like nothing and opened wounds that never healed. We all carry scars with us, from this place to the next. We don't have names anymore. We are the 16. I am 12. 3 thinks you're handsome. 5 says we should leave you alone. But the rest of us, you make our teeth set together. We see you, the movies you watch on your laptop, browser set to private. We see what you want to do. If I could free my fingers, I would gouge your eyes out. Time passes funny here. I have a list of all the things I've never done. I've never kissed another girl. I would have liked to. I've never made love. I have had sex. Forcible, awful, soul-murdering sex. I've never gone to college. I was never a senior. I never drove. I never met my father. I never fell in love. Never went to a concert. I never left the great sunflower state of Kansas, even. It's a pretty long list. We 14, minus 3 and 5, talk about what we will do when we break free. I want us to ring your bed so you wake up staring at a circle of dead girls. I want to smell the urine you let loose. I want to lean down and suck your scream out. The things my dead heart wants sets me trembling. It makes my bones chatter against each other, and you sit up in bed. I scream as I remain a statue, and then the fury in me becomes a raging, hot thing in my chest. It crawls up the scythe ladder of ribs and leaps atop the humerus, slides down the bone slide and into my first finger on my right hand. My finger jerks. It cuts a hole in the plastic. It jabs at the drywall. The heat pulses through it. There is a small starburst scorch pattern, burnt through the wallpaper. Connie sees the mark 2 days later. "What's this?" she says. She touches her fingers to the small, tiny hole. The wetness of our tears sticks. When she lifts her hand, the wallpaper peels away. We wait and we plead, "Find us." "Oh, God, what is that smell?" She puts her hand over her mouth. "You come to see." It overpowers you both. The stench of decay assaults you, dead girls rotting in plastic coffins. You lean down and peer into the hole. My finger, dirty, white, porous bone, points at you. "Oh, God," you say. "Oh, God." God has nothing to do with this place. You get a crowbar. You find seams in the drywall. You pry a square out. You know what I am when you see me. My teeth gleam through the plastic. "I think it's a body," you whisper. The end is coming fast. I knew it, I saw it, but now it is here. Connie is screaming into the phone. You're just standing there with tears in your eyes, like I matter now. "I'm sorry," I think you say, "but you are hard to see. You are turning transparent, blurring around the edges. Now time is moving too fast, the last of the sand through the hourglass. I can feel myself becoming light as air. When I push my ghost fingers against the plastic, they pass right through. People are here, but they are vague shapes and their voices are muted and distorted. "Don't!" I try to scream, but nothing comes out. "Don't do this to me. I don't want to leave. I'm not ready. I never got to do anything. All I did was die. Don't I get anything?"
Here is what Erin had to say about the episode. "I was an invisible teenage girl once. I was lucky to survive the situations I put myself in. I saw a story about teenage girls held captive for years who escaped, and I wondered about those who didn't live, but died, but were unable to move on. How being trapped in such a place would change someone, and from there, the narrator bloomed. Horror, for me, has a weight and structure to it, which I find graceful and terrifying in equal measure. This is a story that embodies that idea and that ideal. It's protean and mercurial, changing shape and focus depending on where you stand, but the horror, the bleak, dark core of the story, remains clear and in focus however you move around it. The thing that sells me here, other than the brutally beautiful language, is that this is a story about a haunting as a wound. The ghosts are painfully aware of what they are and of who is truly responsible for their ends. They know where he is. They know how hellish his life has become. They know it isn't close to enough because he has a life and stole theirs. So they do the only thing they can do, over and over again. The cycle of abuse and damage crossing the temporality barrier. Vengeance with no end, anger with no horizon, a long now made of nothing but the feeling of scars being opened and the scintilla of nourishment that comes from that. They've driven away other residents. It wasn't enough. They've visited their killer. It wasn't enough. They are the embodiment of supernatural rage and vengeance, positioned to ensure they can never be hurt again, because they can never feel again. Rage trapped in amber. Fierce refusal to accept death, used as a field dressing for a pulse. If you hate, you're alive. If you rage, then you're still moving. If your guard is up, they can't attack you, even if there's no way you can be hurt any more than you already have been. You don't have to be dead to feel that way. And sometimes you need to feel that way. But no one and nothing can live there forever. And that's the final element of horror here, the fact that they all present as so heartbreakingly young. The list of things the narrator wanted to do but didn't, the rage of the ending, these are ideas of lives, fractions of sentience, being clung to by an echo, terrified of being able to move on from the toxic environment it persists but not exists within. It isn't fair. It's never fair. It's brutal and cruel, and ending the suffering is almost as bad as the suffering itself, but in the end you always have to, because otherwise you live in the second after the pain stops forever, and that's a house no one can stay in for long. Nor should they. Expertly written, beautifully narrated. Thank you both. And now, just to lighten the mood, let's talk about money. We're trying to do a couple of things at the moment, and we're doing them specifically through our Patreon account. Basically, here's how it works. You can subscribe over there for as little as $5 a month, and that gets you access to unlimited bonus audio content. And it is basically unlimited. We add new stuff to it all the time. What we're aiming for with our Patreon goals is twofold, and they're both vital. The first is we want to raise our author pay rates to 8 cents a word. It's past time. We know the pay raise is coming industry-wide. We want to be ready for it. And we also want to pay our associate editors. Now, a lot of the time, when I say the phrase associate editors to people, their eyes glaze over a little bit. When I say the word slush readers, they tend to focus in a little more. That's what these people are. That's their job. An associate editor is the phrase that tends to be used to deal with what they do, because they are editors. Far more than the pejorative coal mining slash into the never-ending furnace imagery of slush readers would have you believe. These people are the first contact between every author and every publication. They are the people who pick the stuff which works out of the pile and champion it all the way up. They are vital. Everyone uses them. Almost no one pays them. We want to be one of the first people, because there are some folks out there who already do, to pay them, not just because it's the right thing to do, and it is, but because the more people who pay slush readers, the more every publication will adjust and find a way to do it, and suddenly this industry, which is built, as it so often is, on the backs of volunteer labour, is built on the backs of labour which is given fair recompense, if not inevitably what everyone is worth, quite yet, for what they do. We want to pay our people. We want to reward the people who put hard work in, day out for us, in the best possible way, and this is the best possible way, and we can't do that without you. So, if you liked this story, and if you like the show, or any of the EA shows in general, and you have the capacity, please go to our Patreon page, which will be linked in the show notes, and subscribe for as little as $5 a month, and get us closer to it. You can also do that through pseudopod.org and clicking on Feed the Pod, which will allow you to subscribe. Once again, same perks, and again will move us a little bit closer towards things. The other thing, which I want to talk to you about real quick, is what you can do if you can't afford to donate, because I know a lot of people can't. I'm a freelancer. I am very familiar with the words irregular cash flow. You can talk about us. You would be amazed how much simply signal boosting can do for a company like this. If you liked this episode, if you liked any episode, link to it on Twitter, talk about it on Facebook. If you have a show yourself or a blog and you'd like us to come on as guests or to be interviewed, get in touch. We love doing that stuff. I did 2 interviews yesterday and they're brilliant fun. The rising tide lifts all boats, and the rising tide doesn't necessarily have to be made out of money. So if you can donate, please do, and if you can't, please consider donating a little bit of signal boost. And thank you for everything you folks do. We will be back next week with He Dies Where I Die by Michael Harris Cohen, read by Phil Lunt, and audio produced as this episode has been by the incomparable Marty Perrette. Then, as now, we will be a production of Escape Artists Incorporated and released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license.
It's a pseudopod. It's a big foot.
It's all about podcasts these days.